My name is Michael Rubenfeld. There's a fire truck trying to get through a very trafficy area here on Dietla Street, which is where I live. Please, if you're watching this and you are not someone who likes Jewish people, forget that I said that I live on Dietla, because you might start looking for me. And, you know, as a Jewish person, I'm just sort of programmed to worry that when you walk down the Polish streets, anyone at any time might be out to kill you. That's a joke, a bit of a morbid joke that I made as a kind of entry point into the subject I want to talk about on this video. But before I get into the subject that I want to talk about, I'll give you a hint. It's about trauma. Yeah, I know. I love to talk about trauma. Can't you see in my face how traumatized I am? This is why I like to talk about it. But before I do talk about trauma, I want to talk a little bit about the video I'm not doing, because Michael is dum-dum, who didn't know that when your microphone here is flashing, which mine is not right now because it's not on pause. But I somehow accidentally paused my microphone for the last rather long video I recorded in Wrocław at the White Stork synagogue, in front of it, in fact. It was a really good video about the appropriation of the Jewish image in Poland, which, you know, I know you're sitting at home thinking, God, I have been dying for a video about the appropriation of Jewish culture in Poland. And I was about to give it to you, but I had my microphone on pause. So that was my whole previous video. I will record another video about why I was in Wrocław. But today I want to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I'm not an expert on post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD. I'm not sure what it is in Polish. PTSD. No, I'm sure it's something else. But the last couple of days, I've had something interesting happen. Yesterday, I had a therapist, a psychotherapist, randomly bring up post-traumatic stress disorders and Polish people. And today, this afternoon, I had a coffee with another, not a psychotherapist, a psychologist, who also brought up a post-traumatic stress disorder in Poland. And I thought, well, this is interesting that 2 days in a row I have somebody bringing up a therapist, no doubt, post-traumatic stress disorder in conversation randomly with me, as people tend to, because I think they can see the trauma gurgling out of my eyeballs. I found it interesting because the reason they wanted to bring it up was when thinking about therapy and therapeutic practices in a Polish context, and how much it's needed. Because apparently in Poland, the level of post-traumatic stress disorder is off the charts. I tried to do a bit of research to get an exact number, but both yesterday and today, the number I got was between 35 and 40%. 35 and 40, between 35 and 40% of Polish people have post-traumatic stress disorder. The normal amount of a population is apparently between 2 and 3%. But in Poland, it's between 35 and 40% of people have post-traumatic stress disorder. That means approximately 40% of Poland's population has trauma disorder. You're disorderly. After hearing that, I immediately started to understand why I feel so goddamn comfortable in Poland. because the only people who have a higher amount of post-traumatic stress disorder in Poland are Polish Jewish people. Apparently the number they have, according to this psychologist, is 55%. 55% of Polish Jews have post-traumatic stress disorder. And we were just talking about Polish Jews. You know, I'm under the impression that the number of Jews in the world who have post-traumatic stress disorders is closer to 100%. But I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not anything really. I'm just a guy with a camera and a dream. I do think a lot about trauma. I think a lot about my own trauma, and I think a lot about the fact that I've moved to Poland, in a way to focus on my own trauma. I have felt very oppressed by trauma in life, and I felt like coming to Poland would be, a kind of natural place to work on trauma. Because in Poland, my trauma is triggered basically all the time. Not because of Polish people, okay? I want to get this clear. Polish people are amazing, except the ones who don't like Jews or women or gay people. The fact that the number of people are as traumatized in Poland as they are, makes me somehow really feel at ease. I made a comedy video at one point, and in the video I responded to somebody's question about whether or not I'm happy in Poland. And my video basically was me saying, is anybody happy in Poland? I didn't think that happiness existed in Poland. I moved to Poland because I didn't want to be happy or worry about being happy. And of course it was satire, it was a joke. It went a little bit viral. And some people were like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm happy in Poland, because they didn't know I was joking. But I think that the kind of more appropriate response to the question as to whether or not I'm happy in Poland is no, I'm happily traumatized in Poland, or I'm happily working on my trauma in Poland. Something like that. It's a kind of weird and perverse thing to say. Within the context of this conversation, this man, whose name is Damien Stewart, shout out to you, Damien, thank you for the nice coffee today. He told me a story about having the honor of giving two psychologists a tour of the Krakow ghetto, and the conversations that they were having connected to psychology. And that's not everyone's idea of a good time. Let's go and check out the ghetto and talk about the psychology of trauma or post-traumatic stress as a result of genocide. But for him, this was rather exciting. It was rather exciting to be able to have this opportunity. And in a way, I think that is a nice way for me to think about what it is that I'm doing in Poland. It's like, as someone who decided that I wasn't going to be able to escape the trauma that works within me, I was like, well, if you can't beat it, join it. So I kind of moved to Poland to join the trauma parade, learning more about the kind of percentage of Polish people who have post-traumatic stress disorder helps me kind of understand that, well, I think this is a big reason why I'm here, to be traumatized with you. Of course, the reasons for trauma are different in Poland. Polish people have a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder because, not just because of the war, but because of communism and because of the culture of silence around the war and trauma. And, a lot of people probably already know that the way to work through and on trauma is to discuss it, to talk about it, to allow yourself to find ways to release it, to work with it, to move on from it. But, 40 years of not being able to do that has created a pretty traumatized society. And that's not anyone's fault, that's just, we can say it's the Russians' fault. Well, no, it was fucking the Germans and then the Russians' fault. But it's not the Polish people's fault. But I do think it's now the time to be working on this trauma for all of us in a way. And so I'm happy to be here, hopefully forming a trauma bond with you. And I hope you accept this bond. Well, the 40% of you who are as traumatized as I am. For the other 60%, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Just live your lives, live your best life, eat some ice cream, and, try and not fuck up your kids. That's what I'm trying to do, not fuck up my son. And, let's see how that goes. I love you all. I hope you still love me as much as I love you. Bye-bye. Oh, and like and subscribe for more content like this.